presentation for you. I'm Alex.
I'm Derek.
I'm Jake.
I'm Spencer.
Tonight, the presentation is going to be about Chapter 13, Understanding Savings, Investments, and the Financial Systems.
Tonight we'll be discussing the different types of savings, investing, and financial systems. We will go over national income accounts.
There are two types of financial markets we're going to cover. In financial markets, savers can directly provide funds from borrowers. There are stock markets and bond markets.
First, we will talk about the stock market. The stock is a claim to a partial ownership of a company. Stocks are released by corporations. Corporations are larger companies that have many owners. Stocks are sold to raise money and to gain more investors for expansion.
There are three defining factors of a bond. These differences are based off characteristics. These three are the terms, credit, and tax treatment. Term has to do with the length till maturity. Long-term bonds tend to be more risky and pay higher interest rates. Credit risk deals with the likeliness of the bond to be paid off. Higher interest rates come with bonds that have higher probability to default. Most bonds that are gaining interest are considered taxable income.
Another part about this will be financial intermediaries. With financial intermediaries, savers can indirectly provide funds to borrowers. These include banks and mutual funds.
Banks take in money from savers, make loans to borrowers, as well as facilitate purchases of goods and services. When banks take in money, they pay interest, and when they borrow out money, they charge interest.
Mutual funds are sold by institutions that sell shares to the public. Mutual funds are investments that pool your money together with other investors to purchase shares of a collection of stocks, bonds, or other securities, referred to as a portfolio. That might be difficult to recreate on your own. Mutual funds are often overseen by a portfolio manager.
National income accounting is a bookkeeping system that a government uses to measure the level of a country's economic activity in a given time period. A main measurement by the government is GDP. GDP stands for the gross domestic product. GDP measures the value of economic activity within a country. There's an equation for measuring GDP. GDP equals consumption plus investment plus government purchases plus net exports.
There are so many different national income accounting identities.
One accounting identity is if it is an open or closed economy. A closed economy does not have any imports or exports, therefore the closed economies do not have any net exports. We'll be back after this short break.
2,000 years later.
And another accounting identity is national savings. When it comes to national savings, savings must always equal investments.
There's also public versus private savings. Public savings is tax revenue that the government has left after paying for its spending. Private savings is income that households have left after paying for the taxes and consumption.
There is budget surplus versus budget deficit. Surplus is when a tax revenue is greater than the government spending. Deficit is where government spending is more than the tax revenue collected.
Oftentimes in the United States government and economy, we face a budget deficit. We oftentimes spend more money than we actually have.
The last thing we will cover is the market for loanable funds. There are two types of people in this market. Those who want to save supply funds and those who want to borrow to invest in demand funds. The source of the supply for loanable funds is savings, and the source of the demand for loanable funds is investments.
The supply and demand depends on the interest rate. As interest rises, the demand decreases. And as an interest rate decreases, demand increases.
Government policies can have an effect on an economy's saving and investments. There are three policies put into place for loanable funds.
Policy 1 is saving incentives. This policy helps shelter some savings from taxations. Because of this, supply for loanable funds increases.
Policy 2 is investment incentives. With investments, there can be a tax credit. Because of this, the demand of loanable funds increases.
Policy 3 is a budget surplus and deficit. The supply and demand of loanable funds has to do with if the government's budget has a surplus and deficit.
Just want to take a moment and thank you all for taking the time to listen to our explanations of savings, investments, and financial systems. We want to try to give everyone a little better understanding of these three aspects of this economy. The economy plays a very important role in everyone's life. Thank you all. Have a great night.